Okay, so we're going to start with some basics on the calculator. All right, so your calculator, this is kind of a picture of your calculator. Today we're going to talk about real numbers. So everything we're doing today is stuff that you put into the home screen of your calculator. So it's square roots, it's putting numbers in order. Okay, that's everything we're practicing today. And there's going to be a few questions about it. You know, those should be really easy questions to get right. Focus up. Those should be really easy questions to get right, okay? This is a basic diagram of your calculator. If you get lost or confused or forget where something is, you can come back to this page because we kind of like circled and pointed out the stuff that's important. And we put boxes around the things that are the most important. Margie, can you sit there for today? Can you sit right there for today? Thank you, hon. All right, so we boxed up the stuff that's really important, okay? Alpha y equals, you can do that for fractions, but I'm going to be honest with you. Really, I'm going to want you doing top divided by bottom most of the time, okay? And we're going to talk about how to do that. So you might be asked questions, hold on, so like, it looks like you're mostly going to be asked questions about putting numbers in order. It is possible that they will ask you a question about the real number system, because they have in the past. They have in the past asked about real numbers, but they usually ask about whether something is rational or irrational, okay? So a rational number is a number that you can write as a fraction. This does not mean that you can put it over 1. In general, irrational numbers, so pretty much everything we see is a rational number. So integer, so like our counting numbers. And we had a diagram of this. That's going to be like our counting numbers. So the things we can count with our fingers. It's going to be 0. It's going to be negatives. It's going to be fractions, decimals, not percents, but fractions and decimals. But what it's not going to be is pi. Pi is an irrational number. And what irrational numbers mean is they're non-terminating, non-repeating. So what that means is if I put them in my calculator, so like for example, if I put pi, if I put pi in my calculator, it gives me this. Pi for reals goes on forever. It doesn't stop, okay? I don't think anybody's found an end to pi. So it's never going to stop. So I cannot write pi as a fraction. We can approximate pi as a fraction, but we can't actually write pi as a fraction because it's not a fraction. It's a mathematical constant, okay? So, pi is irrational. Square root of 2. You see when you put a square root in, you get some weird number like that? That's irrational. So rational means ratio. Ratio is a fraction, okay? So if I can't write it as a fraction, it's not a rational number. Now, this is a rational number, though, because you see how it's got a repeating pattern here? 19, 19, 19, 19, 19. This, if it has a pattern, it is a rational number, because you can take that whatever part's repeating and put it over the same number of 9. So if it's 195, 195, put that over 999, and that's your fraction, okay? So rational and irrational. So my understanding is mostly what they ask you about is the difference between rational and irrational. So if you got those on lock, you're okay. So rational, just focus on the word ratio. Ratio means fraction. Can I write it as a fraction? Irrational means in order for me to figure out what this number is, I would have to spend an irrational amount of time. Like irrational means like you've kind of lost reason, you've lost your mind. If you think I'm going to calculate pi to anything past 3.14, you are irrational and have lost your mind. Okay, so anything that just like you look at it and you're like, what is that? Then it's irrational. Okay, so that's my understanding about what they ask you to compare with these. The rest of the stuff they're going to ask you to do is just putting numbers in order, putting people in order, and like there's a lot of putting stuff in order. I mean, really there is. So there's a lot of comparing and ordering numbers. And sometimes they'll ask you, so they'll ask you a question like this, but they ask you to put it on a number line. Okay, so let's talk about this, the basic calculator stuff you're going to use. So these are our commonly used buttons, okay? We have the square root, which is second x squared. We have pi, which is second up arrow. We have the fraction, which is top divided by bottom, or alpha y equals. And I kind of want you guys to be really more focused on this for STAAR, because if you put a fraction, so if I do alpha y equals, if I put a fraction in, I'm going to get a fraction out. And I'd much rather, just have a decimal to begin with. Decimals are easier to compare. Okay? If I want an exponent, I put the number, I use this button, the caret, and then the power. So like 3 to the 4th would be 3 caret 4. Okay? If you see something written as an exponent, you need to put it in your calculator as an exponent. If you see 3 little 5, don't put 3 times 5. Put 3 exponent 5. Okay? All right, minus or negative. Ms. Schulteis actually has this strategy that she teaches her kids, and it works really well, so I wanted to share it with you. The only reason that you need to know the difference between minus and negative is because of the calculators that we use. Basically, and I'm sure there's somebody that would disagree with me, minus and negative are kind of the same thing. I know that one is an operator and one is a, so like one is a verb, take 3, subtract 2 from it. Minus means is a verb. It tells you to take 3, subtract 2. Negative is an adjective. It's telling you what kind of 2 do you have, negative 2. But they functionally behave the same way. So the only reason we need to know the difference between minus and negative is because on this calculator, minus is a different button. I mean, negative is a different button. Okay? So if Ms. Schulteis' strategy is minus in the middle, if you have a minus sign between two numbers, it's a minus sign. If it's at the front, it's a negative sign. So if it's minus in the middle, if it's in the middle of two numbers, it's a minus sign. Okay, Carlos, dude, I'm not playing today. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this first question here. Okay, it says, which value is best represented by point Q? Okay, so what we're going to do with this, every time we see any of these questions, we are going to put them in our calculator and turn them all into decimals. Okay, because decimals are the easiest thing to compare, and we want them all to look the same. All right, so remember what we're going to do here. Let me zoom out on this. Sorry, that got a little scary. Is I'm going to put square root of 5.4. Who can tell me how I put square root in my calculator? What do I do to put the square root in my calculator? Second, oopsie, that's not it. Second, and what? The x squared, second x squared, okay? So second x squared is how I put the square root in my calculator. If I'm putting it in my calculator, you should be putting it in your calculator, okay? Because I'm showing you how to do this, and then we're going to practice it, okay? So second x squared, all right? Now, whatever's under the radical sign, I put under there, 5.4, and then I hit enter. And then I'm going to write that next to this, 2.32. And I'm only going to go out 2 places. I don't really care about going out much further than that, okay? I want you to do the next 3 numbers. I'm going to give you a second, and then I'm going to give you like maybe 30 seconds to figure out those 3 numbers, and then I'm going to do them, and we'll see if I got the right answers, okay? I'm going to pause it for a second, and then we'll see what see if we got the same thing that I did here. So far, does this seem like mentally taxing stuff? This is not hard so far, okay? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at Q. What 2 big numbers does it fall between? 5 and 6. So I can immediately cross off these 2 because they are not between 5 and 6. Notice they have square root of 5.4 and square root of 5.9. They're trying to trick you into picking those because it looks like it's about 5.4, but if it's under the radical sign, you've got to convert it into decimals before you can do that. Now, is the Q closer to the 5 or closer to the 6? It's closer to the 5, so you're going to pick the smaller one. There you go. All right, that's how we do it. Okay? Let me see if there's another one like that. I don't have another one exactly like that. So, do you think that if you saw something like this, you could do it? Yeah? Okay. All right, let's try the next one here. Are we okay with that one? Okay. Let's try the next one. So for this one, what you're going to do, what I want to start by doing, and you're going to see a lot of these, and if you notice, a lot of the examples that we have are like that. So what I want you to do is, I want you to start by putting these each in the calculator. Now you see 37.6. I'm going to show you this one, and you'll do the rest of them. So you see 37.6. I want you to write 37 divided by 6, top divided by bottom. And what you're going to do is you're going to write the number above it. So 6.1, let's just say 6.16. Okay? All right? And then this one is negative 5.17, so I'm just going to write that again, negative 5.17. because I'm trying to get these numbers turned into decimals. Are y'all with me so far? Okay. Now, the next one is square root of 33. We should be able to put that one in our calculator right now. Everybody tell me the square root of 33. And online folks, I'm not looking at you, but that's just because right now I can't, because I'm trying to record and I can't look at you and record at the same time. So if you have a question, you can just call it out, or you can just, just type me a message in the chat, okay? What did you get for square root of 33? I can't hear you, Mr. Rumble, but was it 5.74? Okay. 5.74. And negative 26/5. So remember, minus in the middle. Is this minus between two numbers, or is it in front of a number? Now, it kind of looks like it's between two numbers, but remember, there's a comma in front of it. So think of this as like a brand new thing. So this is going to be negative 26 divided by 5. And for this one, I got negative 5.2. Okay? So I'm going to look for the smallest number. So least means most negative. Greatest means most positive. So we're not looking for we're not looking at the numbers. Here, let me zoom in now that we've got those converted. We're looking at the decimals, and the sign doesn't. So the 5.74 is not bigger than negative 5.17, because it is bigger, but like for example, I don't know how to say this. Because this is the most, what is the most negative number that you see there? So let's write them down. I have 6.16, negative 5.17, 5.74, negative 5.2. Okay? So what do you notice about this last number? It's like shorter than the rest. You add a 0. Okay? Now, which of these, they want me to go from least to greatest. That means they want me to find the most negative number first. What is the most negative number? Negative 5.20, which is negative 26/5. So that means I can cross off those two, because negative 26/5 should be the first, that's the smallest number. What's the next smallest number? You guys think negative 5.17? So that's my next smallest number. So that was negative 5.17. Okay? So far, we're good to go on this. Okay? And these two are already out. Now, what's the next? Now we're moving into the positives, right? So what's the next number? The next smallest number? 5.74. So that's going to be number 3, and that's square root of 33. So square root of 33 should be next, but it's not on that one. So the answer is H. I don't even need to worry about the last one, because this is the only one that's got the 3 I want right. Now notice, as I find something wrong, I'm crossing it out. So if I come back to this later and I'm like, why did I do that? I know what I did, okay? And I'm just going to be honest with you. Nobody's going to look at your STAAR test unless you cheat, or somebody around you cheats, and then they're going to look at your STAAR test. They're going to look real close. So like, we have to do seating charts. So, and like they basically look at your seat and all the seats around you. So if there's any kind of grading irregularity, they look at everybody around you, and then they try to figure out how it happened. So they're not, but because y'all aren't going to cheat, and that's not an issue, they're not going to look at your book. So the work that you do in your book is for you. Okay? You're writing stuff down not because Miss Deal is going to check it. You're writing it down because you want to get the right answer. Okay, that's why you're writing stuff down. Okay, use your pencil. They will give you, if you're like me and you like a sharp point, just keep asking for new pencils. And if they say, why are you asking for pencils? I like a sharp point. Just tell them I like a sharp point. Okay? All right. I want to show you something really quick with this. And then I want you to try this one. So first of all, do you see how it says 12 and a half? Let's pretend you don't know what a half is. You don't know that that's 50 cents, okay? Then what you're going to do is you can say 12 plus, I'm sorry, you can't see that, 12 plus, and then in parentheses do 1 divided by 2. 12, because isn't that the math word for and? You're literally writing in math 12 and 1/2. And it'll tell you what the decimal is, okay? 12.5. This one is 12.09. What would you put in for this one? Why don't you guys see if you can tell me what the decimal form of that one is? And I'll put this up so you have an example of like kind of like how I did it. No, that's not it. Did you get 12.4? Remember, you're doing 12 plus, because the whole number part is 12, and then we're doing and 2/5 now, right? So I'm going to do in parentheses 2 divided by 5, and I get 12.4. Okay, what do I need to do to be able to compare these numbers first? Are they all the same length? No, then I got to make them the same length. And remember, and notice I lined them up by the decimal. Okay, so we want to go completion times from fastest to slowest. So the person who completes the time finishes fastest. Do they have the highest time or the lowest time? The lowest time. So I want lowest to highest. Again, nobody's going to see this work but me, but it helps me figure out what I got to do. Okay. So what is the lowest time there? ln, because it's 12.09, right? So ln is going to be my slowest. So I'm going to cross off these two that say Patty. Huh? Sorry, that's the fastest. I'm sorry, did I say it wrong? I meant fastest. Right? Who's the next fastest? Steve. So ln is 1, Steve is 2. The answer is C. Right? I didn't even have to look at everybody. I just had to do this part right here. Okay? The only other one I want to show you, and I'll go over some of these, I'll go, you know what, let's just do them. Why not? This one. What do you think? So the only one of these that I want to show you, I think you can do these. So I want you guys to take a minute, and I want you to turn these three into decimals. So I want you to do top divided bottom by bottom on those three, and just go out 2 decimals for me. I'm going to show you how to do this one. Actually, why don't I just show you how to do it, and then you can do it. So I want to point out to you, if I do square root of 3 divided by 11, what is wrong with what I have here? Well, it's not a fraction, but also, don't you see how, like, in my problem, does the square root bar go over the 11? No. So what I have to do is I have to do square root of 3, and then I got to move out from under the bar. So I hit the right arrow to move out, then I divide by 11. If I don't do that, I'm going to get it wrong. So for this one, I'm going to put 0.15. Or if you want to just put 0.157, that's fine. Okay? I want you to find me the rest of them. Okay. Notice I already went through and I added my extra 0. I don't know why I did 0.157 there. I should have just done 0.15, but I didn't. I already added my extra zeros, though, because I did this, right? Because I want them all to be the same length. If I had, like, say one of them was 1 and the other was 15, I'd add zeros to the front, okay, to make them all the same length. So I want to go from the greatest to the least. That means I'm going from biggest to smallest. Which one of these is the biggest? Plumber X, right? Because it's 0.157. That's like 157, and that's the biggest one. So this Plumber X is number 1. And that's square root of 3 over 11, so I cross off the ones that are wrong. Okay? Now I've got, who's next? Plumber Z, because he's at 130. And Plumber Z is pi over 24. Well, that's wrong. Wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry, that's wrong. So B is my answer. Okay? The last thing I'm going to show you is this one. Okay? I'm going to show you this one because I didn't teach this to you, but if you want to try it, you can get it right. So they're asking you, they're saying, this is the density of oxygen. How would you write that number in scientific notation? Okay, if you write 1.429 times 10 to the, I'm sorry, 10 to the, oh my gosh, seriously, 1.429 times 10, and then you use your exponent to the third. I'm literally just putting what I see there, and I hit enter. It says 1,429. Are those two the same? Then that's not what I want. I can just keep doing that. 1.429 times 10 to the 2. 142.9. Also not what I want. Let's try -3. Okay, 0.001429. Is that it? That looks like it matches. Now notice they have the leading 0 in the front. So if they have a 0 in the front, you put a 0 in front of the decimal so you can match it up, because they have 3 zeros, 0.00 at the beginning, and so do I. Okay, and then if I wanted to just check the last one, whoops, make that to the -2, that is 0.01429, and that one's not right. Okay? All right, we're going to practice now, and that's all I got.